Just want to make a quick announcement. We are here on YouTube, but just want to say we are also now on
Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Yes, find us on Spotify, Apple Pod. Listen to us there. If you're not already listening to us there, go ahead and follow us. We'll put the links in the description.
Give us a follow, rate. It all helps.
Yes, you can do your laundry and listen to us now. Bye. All right, welcome back to a new episode of the Deep Dig, a Sports Pod. I'm your host, Drew, with my other host.
Hey, what's up? It's D.
A lot of news going in. Let's just dig right into it. A lot happened today. A lot of NFL news happening today. But we're going to start with Kyler Murray and his contract. There's obviously the initial numbers came out where everyone's saying how big the contract is. But now some details have leaked on the contract. Do you have the details on that?
Yes. So the contract made him, by a year basis, the second highest paid quarterback in the league. Obviously, it wasn't Deshaun Watson money where it was the entire thing guaranteed. But an interesting fact came out that they actually put an addendum in the contract where it's required that he has study hours, and it has to be a minimum of 4 per week, which I find actually super weird because he's the franchise quarterback. Why would they have that in the contract if he wasn't already doing that? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on this issue. Like, it's such a weird thing to leak and a weird thing to put in initially. I mean, this whole process, we could assume through the Cardinals' actions that they really weren't feeling great about committing to Kyler Murray long term. And there's been rumors about his leadership skills, him in the locker room, how committed he is to football, how committed he is to getting better at football. And I actually heard someone say that there was a quote from him in college where he said, like off tops, like he put it on wax that he doesn't feel he needs to study, that he thinks he picks it up naturally. He's not a studier. He doesn't feel like he needs it. Not great attitude you want from the leader of your team. And I just think it's weird that the way the league is now, you have to commit to your franchise quarterback. You have to pay him top dollar. That's just the way it is, unless you're ready to rebuild. Hey, thanks for clicking on this video and watching this far. Sorry to interrupt, but just want to let you know if you could like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. It would really help us out. All right, thanks. Now, here's us again. Need to rebuild. And the Cardinals are clearly not ready to move on from him. So they had to commit this money. But by committing the money, why even put in that clause? Because say he doesn't study, you don't save face for like cutting him because he didn't study. Like, you still paid him the money and now you're getting nothing out of him. So I feel like it's just a redundant thing to put into the contract because, one, it'll never get utilized. And two, either way, it makes you look bad if the contract doesn't work out in wins and another contract.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just rumors. Like, it's a fact. Like, the Cardinals did not think that he had like leadership qualities. That's why they had to go out and overpay for JJ Watt. That's why they had to go out and overpay for AJ Green. These guys that like brought a veteran presence because they know Kyler isn't like that. Kyler's not going to be the voice of reason. He's not going to be the one to like rally the troops. And it's okay. A lot of people aren't that way, but that's exactly what you need in a franchise quarterback. So while other guys are getting criticized for like, hey, like you're too of much of a rah guy. Like, so in the worst instance is like a Baker, who is very emotional, who you ride that roller coaster with.
Real crotch grab on the sideline celebration.
Yeah. But there's other guys like Lamar Jackson who really push dudes and are like just straight up leaders. And I can't wait to see his contract. But besides that, like, I don't know. Like, it's just such a weird, like, hey, you have to put it in. And then why would it leak right now? It's like they gave him the contract. Now they're going to backhand him and be like, yeah, we didn't even want to sign you.
Well, the thing is, I could see the leak coming from either side, but to me, it makes either side look bad because if the Cardinals leak it, then it's like, wow, you're trying to save face in the future by saying like, well, we had a red flag, so that's why we put in this clause. But it's like, okay, well, if you didn't want to commit to him, then don't commit to him. And you don't get points. You don't get brownie points for moving in with your girl, but keeping the lease on your apartment. Like you still take the L either way. And then it's bad on Kyler's end if he leaked this and it's pretty much letting the world know like, hey, I've been very shitty at like showing how responsible I am, and that's how unresponsible I've been that they need to put it in my contract to put in extra work. So I mean, I don't see why either side would want this out. I mean, it would get out eventually, but to leak it like so quick, and maybe they did it quick to like rip the band-aid off. I just think it's super redundant, super pointless to have this in the contract because all it's doing is creating these talking points, all this drama, and it's not conducive to winning.
Yeah, and I think too, like they didn't have to pay them. Like they did not have to pay him. They could have kept him under contract for another 2 years. He had a year left on his deal, and they could have franchise tagged him for the second year. I don't know why they were so quick to pull the trigger on this guy that they had a bunch of question marks on. And I get he's hella talented, but he really does contribute to that. Hey, we do good for half a year, and then it's tank city. It was like that this year. It was like that the year before. So I don't know. I just don't think like. I think one more year. Well, hey, just thing. Prove it. Just prove what you can do.
That's been the Achilles heel of Kingsbury and Kyler is the second half of the season. So maybe this should be also in Kingsbury's contract. Hey, second half of the season, you and Kyler need to put in extra work in the film room because once people see what you have that season, they're figuring you out and you're not changing anything. And that's why you're potentially losing. Or maybe you need to learn some different plays or different schemes so that Kyler's not getting banged up midway through the season and then at the end underperforming. So well, I don't know.
Like, how the fuck am I going to put in new plays? This guy don't study.
How does this make Kyler feel when he ended last season saying, oh, they used me as a scapegoat? And now we're seeing, which I think he was not right in using that term in that moment. I think he made himself.
He looked like shit.
He played terrible, and the team did not blame it on him. But then he saw the media blaming it on him, and he was like, "Oh, the team threw me under the bus." And I mean, that I guess you could debate that situation, but this I feel like is totally the team trying to make Kyler the scapegoat. This is them saying like, "Look, if he's bad, that's on him. We tried to tell him to work hard, but." It's on him at the end of the day.
Then why pay him the money? That's like my biggest thing is like, instead of rewarding this guy who just went out, like he took a shit in the playoffs, like, hey, you know what? It's cool. And I didn't see anyone from the Cardinals like blame him specifically. If anything, the coaching staff caught more flack. They didn't even want to give them their game check for the playoffs. So like, if anything, they took the heat. Kingsbury took the heat. He ate it. He was like, cool. He ended up getting his extension. But I think, again, with this type of money, doesn't hurt to validate like how we're feeling. Hey, Kyler, you know what? We think you're our guy. We just want to make sure you have one more year left on the contract. We could franchise tag you another year. You got to play the ball, bro. Like, you play the game. Or what? You're going to just sit out and like confirm all these like red flags to the rest of the league?
Yeah, it's a tough situation. I think he would have been a guy that would sit out most of the season until he got his contract. He's been complaining about this for about a year and a half. I think he really wanted to speed through the process. So we'll see how it goes. I don't see this coming into play. Like, how are they going to track it? I've been seeing a lot of people asking that. What are they going to do? Like, make sure that how are they going to make sure he's not on his phone and just letting the clips play? Are they going to have someone like supervising him on the other end? Like, how does this work out? And what happens when he misses an hour of film study?
Is they going to
That
sit him for Colt
like,
McCoy?
well, the thing is, like, is it, hey, we'll void that week, or are we, hey, you only did 3 hours of film study this week. We're voiding your whole contract. And how
Yeah, I don't
bad,
know.
like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, they're gonna set back their franchise and get nothing in return for him. In like that would never happen. If I was him, I would say, nah. I mean, I'll do the film study at work, and you guys can't track me at home, so whatever. Like I passed a lot of my classes to get my degree by just sitting on the computer and pretending to watch videos. So I think Kyler could do the same.
Yeah, but he really shouldn't. Like, that's the difference between like top guys and fucking him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he shouldn't. But if what he cares about is getting the bag, I mean, mission successful. He got it before putting in the work. So
But how do you think this is going to go over with like other guys in the locker room? Like,
he
if I
does.
was
The
sitting
thing
there
he
busting my ass and then this guy just doesn't want to fucking watch film, I'd be so pissed off, dude.
well, that's our mindset. But I think Kyler's showing that that's not his mindset. He's kind of lone wolf in this, and he seems to be okay with it. I mean, I don't know. We're gonna have to get into the season and see like how this plays out with enforcing this contract issue. I would suspect like maybe they say, hey, hop on a Zoom call and we'll just record it and we'll check in and we'll play back the video or something and make
But
sure that
still,
he's
I think
doing
this is
this.
more to embarrass him than anything. This is a, hey, this guy didn't work hard last year. We want to make sure that he's doing, if we're going to pay this guy to do franchise quarterback things, he needs to be doing franchise quarterback things, which is getting his ass in there, watching film, making sure we don't play half a season. Like, just like, let's finish out whatever we set out to do. Let's finish it.
I don't know. Maybe this is a way for them to get out of the contract in like 3 years when they do know, like, hey, he's not worth it. He's not going to be our guy like for the next 10 years. Maybe they want to get through 2, 3 years. I don't know, but only time will tell.
If they
We'll
wanted to get
see
through 2 years, they could have just, again, played out his contract and then franchise tagged him.
if he showed up.
What was he going to do? Is he going to go back to baseball? Good luck. Go to the A's, dude. They don't even want to be in Oakland.
he he wants to play in front of 4,000 screaming fans at the A's stadium. Okay. Are they can they even get 4,000? Isn't it like 2,000 people were there one of the games?
I don't know. I just know every time I've seen the A's, it was like free tickets.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, Giants aren't looking too good either. So let's move on. All right, going from one NFC West quarterback to another one we're very familiar with. Jimmy Garoppolo is in the news again. He had a sit down with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch where they let him know that he's going to be moving on. And then shortly after, they had a press conference where they talked to Trey Lance and pretty much let the world know that Trey's the guy moving forward. What are your thoughts on all the news that came out on that?
I think it was a very well done press conference. Just how he handled it. Hey, you know what? He spoke very highly of Jimmy Garoppolo and all the things he did. It was a weird situation last year coming in, knowing that they gave up like a king's ransom for Trey Lance, winning the job, and then moving forward and being professional. But I'm super pumped. It's Trey Lance time, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm happy because this is what we've been wanting this whole time since Trey Lance got drafted. Is I just wanted them to commit to Trey. Like, just let us know that you guys are ready to go all in and see what this kid has. I mean, it's not going to be pretty all the time. It's not going to be smooth, but that's not how it was with Jimmy G. And we got through it and we had a lot of success. So I'm ready to see what this kid can do, where his ceiling is at, where his floor is at. And I hope training camp proves that they made the right decision and he gets ready for week 1.
Yeah, and I think finally they announced, like, they just named the elephant in the room. Everyone was kind of feeling that way with the offseason. Again, there was 2 main things on the mind. Jimmy Garoppolo, Deebo Samuel. now that they've addressed Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be gone, I don't know how, like, in what fashion that's actually going to be. Hopefully it's a trade and they get something for him, but I think now they're more open to actually just cutting him. And with that, like, yeah, like, okay, you're going to have to adjust to Trey Lance, and it's going to be tough to get the rhythm and play. I don't think it's going to be that tough. Like, it's not going to be like rocket science. I think all the things that Jimmy G could do, Trey Lance can do now. And is it hard to hand the ball off and then run a play action? You know what I mean? I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I think this is more solidifying what's going to happen to Jimmy. There was people still saying like maybe he can start for them, maybe he can take a pay cut and be the backup. I think this is just training camp started or is starting. They had to let everyone know like Jimmy's not going to be here. Jimmy's not coming in. They had to make that move. They kind of played their cards to where they were bluffing to other teams like, oh, Jimmy's still part of this team. We don't know. We're going to see. And now they're back against the wall. They ran out of time. I don't see why a team would trade for Jimmy G now. They know that Jimmy's not going to be there. The second training camp ends, he's getting cut. They can get Jimmy on a cheap deal. So do you see a team stepping in and saying, we want first dibs, so we'll give you a pick?
No. So I don't see them trying. The only way I could see someone trading for him is if there are, because so Donnie's already talking to other teams, right? So if there's multiple teams that like, hey, well, we're going to take a flyer on Jimmy once he gets cut, and Don plays it like, hey, so-and-so, this team X is ready to roll. We're going to have a contract done before he even gets cut, or done before it gets cut. And that team steps up and is like, hey, you know what? Actually, we're going to send over a 6th round pick. But other than that, I don't think they're going to do that with the number on his contract left.
Yeah, I just don't see why a team would do it. Like, if you get to the point where you get through all of training camp and you're still like waiting, you still haven't made the move to get Jimmy G, why at that moment are you thinking, all right, we need to trade for this guy? Like, the Niners timeline is different than another team's timeline. If another team had the timeline where they were saying, we're desperate for a quarterback, we need Jimmy G, it already would be done because you want that guy in camp with your team. You're not trading for Jimmy at that number for a backup position. So I think we've seen that no one sees him as a starter at that price point. I would just, if I was any team, I would wait for him to get cut and then pick him up for a couple mil. And if you don't get him, then, oh, well, you just roll with what you were going to roll with anyways. And, no skin off your back. It's fine. You don't lose anything.
And two, like, if you're the 49ers, why would you want to eat any of his money? Like, if a team is like, hey, you know what, we'll do it, but you take 10 mil and we'll take the rest. It's like, well, why would I do that? If I just cut him, I pay him 4.
I could see the Niners eating 10 mil for like a 2nd or 3rd round pick.
But that ain't happening.
But when you say, okay, eat 10 mil of the contract and we'll give you a 5th, are you the Niners? Do you want to pay $10 million for a 5th round pick? I mean, I'd say just let him walk and let him go make his decision that'll set him up better in his career. You come out looking great as a team that you'd let him go. But yeah, we'll see if anyone gets desperate. The first week of camp is going to tell a lot because there's a lot of quarterbacks that teams think that they can rely on them this season, Falcons, and they're going to see them in a full week of camp, and they're going to decide, like, are these guys ready to carry the team or are they Sam Darnold?
Fuck.
So we're going to wait and see on that. And we'll update you as soon as Jimmy G gets moved.
Trey Lance, baby.
Trey is ready.
Are you pumped about it? Like, are you? Like...
Oh, yeah. He's going to be so dynamic. Just keeping the play alive with his feet, more downfield. I'm tired of seeing Jimmy throw for 120 yards. Trey Lance threw for 250 on training wheels. So I'm ready to see the ball go downfield.
Yeah, just no more of that. Like, oh, let's run QB power. Like none of that bullshit. Like, just give him the Shanahan offense. Let's give him the playbook already, and let's roll with that. I would like to see him more as like a Deshaun Watson type guy.
Whoa, careful
where
there.
it's mobile just to be mobile, like mobile to open up the pass game, and not like Pat Mahomes, where Pat Mahomes gets wild. He's just running around back there. Looks like he truly has no idea what's going on.
He looks
and then
like
he'll set his feet and throw it. I don't want that. I want like a more calculated. Hey, if I don't get rid of this ball, like after X receiver gets to X spot, then I'm just gonna put my head down and let's chuck him.
Yeah, Pat Mahomes definitely has that college Johnny Manziel type of game where he's just doing some crazy stuff back there and out of nowhere touchdown. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd like to see Trey's. I've seen it. There's breakdown. Someone actually on Twitter did a cool breakdown of his first game in preseason last year, where he was very calm and collected in the pocket, and he was stepping up and keeping his eyes downfield. And I think he could be that. He's had a season. I think towards the end of this season, he's gonna feel more comfortable sitting back in that pocket and taking his time.
I think so.
All right. We're going to move on to some other news that came out this week. LaFleur, is it Matt? Matt LaFleur? Matt LaFleur for the Packers got an extension. And we were just wondering, how does he stack up against Kyle Shanahan? Because these guys are kind of intertwined. Their careers, their legacies are intertwined up to this point. Who do you think's better? And do you think that this contract extension was deserved? What do you think that his future is going to be?
Yes. So of the three young elite guys, being McVay, Shanahan, LaFleur, I think LaFleur is number 3 with McVay up top, Shanahan in the middle. I think just because McVay's already been to the Super Bowl twice, he's won one, he takes the top spot. Shanahan has proven time in and time out he can win with anybody. And so I think that's where like LaFleur gets the knock, is he's solely relied on the back-to-back MVP Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, he gets put in this weird spot because I think he did get put in the best situation. So it's like, how do we judge him on this? Where do we rank his success compared to the other guys? And a lot of people like to use the argument against Shanahan that he hasn't won without Jimmy. He's had, when it's Nick Mullins, he can't win a game. When it's TJ Beathard, he can't win. But to compare, like, okay, here, Kyle, here's a second string, maybe third string quarterback. Oh, you can't win with him? Like, you suck. And then to be like, here's a solid starting quarterback and Kyle's going to the Super Bowl. It's such a drastic difference. And name me a head coach in the league that will take a third stringer and go to the Super Bowl or have major success. It's very difficult in the league to do that. So we haven't seen Kyle with a different starting caliber guy. So I think to use that against him is just wrong. Like, we're going to base his success off of using Jimmy, who is a flawed starter. I would say, so I would put that above LaFleur. And for McVay, he took Jared Goff to a Super Bowl, and we've seen what Jared Goff is without him in 2 different situations. He was not great in Detroit last year. So I think these guys are great, but you do have to use the tools that you have in front of you.
And I will give it to LaFleur. So his record obviously is amazing. And he does get some credit because he's taking that Shanahan offense and marrying it with what Aaron Rodgers does best, which Aaron used to just call plays at the line and just like, all right, fuck it, I'm going to chuck it. They don't really do that a lot. Like, he's taught him like, hey, we're gonna run the ball, we're gonna pick and choose our spots here. So that's I give him credit. And another thing for him is he actually didn't get to choose his defensive coordinator the first time around. So the guy who is the Browns' former head coach, Patine, you know what I'm talking about, the bald guy.
Oh, Penn.
Yeah, Mike Patton.
Mike Penn.
He was chosen for him. So it's like, hey, like their defense did suck. Like, hey, you know what? We need to make a change here. And then they ended up, winning some games. I mean, even then they won 2, but they won despite their defense. Now the defense is looking pretty solid. So, but all that again, I think you do have to knock what he's doing because you're given all of these tools and it's like expected for you to win. And because you haven't had playoff success, that's also a knock against you. You had the back-to-back MVP. You should have at least won this playoff game against the 49ers, who had to really claw and fight for just a wild card spot.
He gets so much flack because of Aaron Rodgers, because a lot of coaches in the league would say, imagine if I had that guy. Like, I would be winning Super Bowls if I had that guy. And so you get the pressure turned on every year that you're expected to win a Super Bowl with your MVP quarterback. And they don't really look at the full picture. Like, they drafted a quarterback in the first round to back up Aaron Rodgers when I think there could have been a piece there to help them win.
You think?
I think there could have been a piece there to help them win. And now they've lost a couple guys on defense. They lost Davante Adams. This next year is going to be really telling because you've stripped away the Davante Adams of it. To now we see, are you able to put together a Super Bowl run with this roster, leaning on your quarterback, solely leaning on your quarterback?
I think too, like it made sense to push for an extension now because like obviously Rodgers has been contemplating retirement. So, hey, like while I'm having success, while I have this amazing record, I'm going to cash in. And it makes sense for the Packers because, hey, we want to make sure to have this guy not leave us if Aaron Rodgers leaves, as far as Gutekunst, as far as LaFleur. So I think it just made sense on both sides as far as the timing of it to like, hey, let's cash in our chips here. Let's make sure this is a long-lasting relationship. And even after Aaron Rodgers, we have some time to rebuild.
Yeah, I think he's building his legacy on the wins right now. And at the end of the day, when you look back on it, if he wins a Super Bowl before Aaron retires, no one's going to care about these playoff losses. They're just going to know that he has a ring. But I think what's going to be more telling is after Aaron retires, is this guy just another guy that fades off and becomes a coordinator again? Or is he going to be like a Mike Tomlin and just be an established winning coach in the league? So I don't think we can really rule which way his career goes without that Aaron Rodgers being gone. So it's going to be a telling thing to see in a few years. All right, let's move on to our next story, but let's stay in the Packers locker room. Training camp started for most teams, and the entrances are the star of the show. Their quarterback, the MVP of the league, came out dressed as Nicolas Cage from Con Air. Did you see this video?
Yes, I did.
What are your immediate thoughts on the look? What are your thoughts on the message that he's trying to send? What are you thinking?
Rodgers is increasingly like he's becoming more and more like hilarious to me. He's just like he seems like a funny ass dude.
Yeah. Do you think there was a greater message behind this, or he just like recently watched Con Air and was like, I gotta dress as this guy?
I think someone probably told him he looked like Nick Cage from Con Air, and he was like, I'm gonna do it. So yeah, I don't think there's a greater message. Do you think there's a greater message? What would it be like? Hey,
yeah, I have a message. I have a
okay.
I think there's the roots of this costume run deep.
Okay.
So Con Air is a story. They follow this man who goes to prison because he makes a decision that he thinks is right. He's trying to defend. I believe they like attack his wife or something, and then he, in self-defense, kills someone. And I see that as he makes a decision that he believes is right, and he's condemned for it. Society labels him a bad guy. The government labels him a bad guy. But you move further into the story, and we realize he's the hero of the story. I think there's Aaron Rodgers saying, like, look, I made a decision. It didn't go over well with you guys, and I was condemned for it. But really, I'm the hero of this story. And I'm going to prove throughout this season that I'm the good guy.
Do you think this is an anti-vax stance here?
Whoa.
Is that where you're going?
I was just talking.
Is that what the fuck?
They're trying to get political on this shit. dope vaccination spot.
Oh, no.
No, I'm saying that him request, like, the whole battle. Did you not follow the Aaron Rodgers story?
Yeah, but I didn't know which decision you were talking about, bro.
Let's just say in general, like all the drama, him going against the front office, him wanting to get traded, him contemplating retirement. Everyone labeled him the bad guy, and now he's showing that he's actually the good guy. And I could actually take it a step further. That now in the movie, Nicolas Cage has to get together this group of misfit guys, and they have to work together to achieve a goal. He has to get together this misfit group of wide receivers to achieve a goal. And he's trying to fly that plane out of there, man. He's trying to fly straight to a championship. There's so many levels to this.
I think you're misremembering Con Air.
I think I'm
Con Air. His only friend was Bubba from Forrest Gump.
I think. Oh, I haven't seen the movie in a while, but don't they have to like work together to rebuild the plane?
That's like the actual cons. Like the bad guys do that.
In the story of Con Air, the vaccination is the one gun.
Oh no!
I mean, we can keep rolling through these metaphors, man. But damn, that was a great entrance. It's really getting everyone talking. I think it really energized the room in the Packers locker room. And dude, he's looking in shape. He's looking good.
Oh, he looked big, dude.
Yeah.
He looked yoked. I was like, dang, okay.
If anything, if this had no meaning behind it, it might have been just a subtle flex on the league. Like, look at me now. Like, look how good in shape I am and ready for the season. I'm going for another MVP.
Dude, imagine if he three-peats MVPs.
And they get pushed out in the first round.
They just did not. They lost Devontae, and then they got Christian Watson from North Dakota State. But didn't they lose MBS too?
Yes.
Like they lost a lot of pieces.
But they returned Randall Cobb. So.
Oh, great. Like he played so much last year.
I think it's what this, like, my favorite part of this was seeing the comparison picture between him and Nick Cage in that movie. I did not remember Nick Cage being in that great shape.
Yoked.
Nick Cage was he was abbed up, in shape. Like, I don't remember Nick Cage being a really fit guy.
We're gonna have to do a rewatch of that.
Oh man, we can watch Face Off. We can watch a lot of Nicolas Cage movies.
Down.
Is that all we got on the Aaron Rodgers?
That's all I got on Aaron Rodgers Con Air. I didn't even know where you were going with that, but yep.
Man,
I'm glad we went there.
Maybe I just didn't have shit to do today, and
you're deep into thought.
I'm in my conspiracy theorist moment. I just really let my thoughts run wild with that one, but I stand by it. He has a deeper meaning. I might not know it. I think
it was just a joke.
No. This is a guy. You're bringing me back into it. This is a guy that doesn't do anything just because.
No, let's move on.
He doesn't do anything just because. Nope. No. Pause. This is a guy who sends messages. He doesn't do anything just because. He did this for a reason. I'm gonna rewatch Con Air this week, and then next week's pod I'll give you a reason.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Let's go for Aaron Rodgers' former wide receiver, Devontae Adams, was saying how he went from one Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers to another Hall of Fame quarterback, Derek Carr. And I just want to tie that together with the statements that Tyreek Hill has been making lately, saying that Tua is more accurate than Patrick Mahomes. Tua is better than Zach Wilson. Tua is the most accurate quarterback in the league. Those are Tyreek Hill's statements. What are your thoughts on this new thing, this new trend of wide receivers hyping up their quarterbacks to ridiculous ends?
I think one, it makes sense with Devontae because that has been like one of his closest friends in Derek Carr. And Derek Carr has a lot of talent. Like he's one of those guys that he showed flashes of being an MVP. He obviously made it to the playoffs last year, so they're feeling pretty good about it. And with Josh McDaniels there, I think that offense is going to look really good. I think the Raiders had one of the most underrated off seasons this year. And I think they're coming in really under the radar because people are blowing the Chargers, they're blowing the Broncos, and the Chiefs are the Chiefs. So I think all that makes sense. But to say he's a Hall of Famer, Hall of Very Good, I think that's fine. But unless he starts to like really have out of this world seasons, and maybe he will with Devontae, I don't think you could label him a Hall of Famer right now.
I don't see what he's done that's made him a Hall of Famer. If we're making Derek Carr a Hall of Famer right now, then there's a lot of quarterbacks that should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't even had like dominant stats every year. I think he threw for the mid-20s touchdowns last season. I think he had like 13 picks. I don't want to be quoted on that. I got to look deeper into it, but I know he hasn't led the league in anything in a while. He did have that one MVP level season where he got hurt. But other than that, I mean, he hasn't even had playoff success. And I just don't see the resume lining up. I'm not saying that he can't become one, but to make that statement now is just such a bold claim with nothing really of substance to back it up. And moving from that to the Tyreek Hill situation, I have a lot of feelings and thoughts about that I'm just hoping that I'm not right about. Like, hear me out about this and let me know what you're thinking. I'm not saying he's on this bad of a level, but in comparison, Antonio Brown, when he was in Pittsburgh, there was a lot of things going on behind the scenes. There was a lot of things that he was doing that was concealed by the team and was handled by the team and really kept Antonio in check until they got to a point where they couldn't handle him anymore and they let him go. And we saw immediately the type of person that he had become and the antics and everything encompassing him. Tyreek Hill, maybe there was a little bit of this where he is a character and he was in a very disciplined team in a system, and they really suppressed that part of him. And I'm not saying there's any scandals or anything going on, but there could be like antics or locker room issues or anything like that. But he's starting to come out as a guy. He has a podcast immediately when he gets traded. He's making bold claims on every podcast. And I just see more of this like personality, this like celebrity personality coming out of him. And I just like afraid that he can get carried away with it and it could start to become a problem in his career. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think he is a questionable guy. Like character wise, I think he is. He had that thing in college, which dropped his draft stock, which with domestic violence. He had the thing with the Chiefs where he did not allegedly, broke a child's arm. So there's those. So like that aside, like, yeah, I think he's a questionable dude
that we know of,
Yeah. There's again, allegedly he's a questionable dude, but I think he's just embarrassed. Like, I think because of the way he forced himself out of Kansas City, people are asking, why would you leave such a good situation? You're leaving Pat Mahomes, who's one of the best quarterbacks the league's ever seen, and you could have a long-standing relationship with him. And you guys could win. You could win big. You can make a dynasty out of this. And then the first video comes out of him and Tua, and it's an underthrow. And he's getting gassed on so hard. Like, people are making fun of him. People are making fun of Tua. So I think he just got defensive. And now he's like, feels backed in the corner where, like, hey, I made this decision. I'm here. I have to prove that, like, I made the right choice and I did this. And Tua is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And this is why every time I talk about Tua, it's going to be balls to the wall. So I just think that's what it is. I think it's just sheer embarrassment.
Yeah. And I mean, I agree on one of your points where, like, I think he is, like, hurt about it and overcompensating, but I don't think he forced his way out of Kansas City. I think this could have been them giving up on him. Like, that's why I made in my own head, the connection to Antonio Brown, to where it got to a point where they're saying, hey, you're only who you can afford to be. And I think AB got to a point in Pittsburgh where they said, we don't want to pay you that much and deal with you. We're just over it. And, like, the breakup happened. This, to me, from the outside looking in, I see the character he's portraying now, and I'm just like, I think the Chiefs looked at the number that was going to be on his contract, and they said, we don't want to deal with you anymore.
See, I think the Chiefs are just trying to nickel and dime people, bro. Like, look at this with Orlando Brown Jr. So he's about to hold out. And the only reason they got Orlando Brown Jr. is because when he was hurt, they had the emergence of Ronnie Stanley in Baltimore. And they were going to move Orlando Brown Jr. to the right tackle spot. He said he did not want to play right tackle because he did not want right tackle money. And they were like, oh, well, when you came to Kansas City, you said you were going to take a team-friendly deal. And he's like, no, I never said that. I said I wanted to be paid like a top left tackle, and now they don't want to do it. And he's going to take it all the way. I think it's looking like it's going to go all the way to the season. So I think they're just trying to nickel and dime people and do what the Patriots used to do, which is, if you want to win, you take a pay cut to be here. And then, you win some chips, you have some, value moving forward, and then you're on your way. But you take a pay cut to be here. I think that's what they're doing.
I don't know. It's a weird thing because you, like, contrast their situation where they are giving light contracts on everyone that's not Mahomes and Kelsey. And then you look at the Rams, and they're literally paying everyone who's ever been anybody.
Yeah.
They're giving them top dollar. And it's just like, we're in this time where everyone thinks the salary cap is bullshit. Everyone thinks there is no cap. You just pay them and you figure it out and you maneuver it. And the Chiefs are saying, well, we can't afford Tyreek. We're going to dump him before we, like, get in the situation. We're going to we're going to handcuff ourselves to this and not be able to sign other players. So, I mean, yeah, maybe it is that they're being cheap, because you would think trading Tyreek would go hand in hand with paying this left tackle a lot of money. I mean, they're not paying any other receivers. They gave Juju's a very, very small contract. They haven't really paid anyone other than Mahomes. So maybe they are just being cheap.
Yeah. So it kind of is what it is. You make your bed, you got to lay in it. And that goes for the Chiefs, and that goes for Tyreek Hill. Like, you chose, to be in Miami. Now you just got to stick with it. Yeah, you ride or die with Tua now.
But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is the Chiefs are going to be fine. Like, the Chiefs are with Patrick Mahomes, and Travis Kelce, and they always work out their issues on defense, and they figure it out by the end of the season. They're going to be fine. They're going to be contenders. Tyreek Hill is making the most noise, and if Tua does not show that he's a solid starting quarterback this year, he's gonna be these comments can be the downfall of Tua. That your star receiver is claiming that you're the most accurate quarterback in the league, that you're more accurate than Patrick Mahomes, that you're better than Zach Wilson, And then if Tua goes out and looks how he looked last year, the the blowback from that is going to be immense.
And it's bad on both parts. It's going to look bad for Tua. It's going to look bad for Tyreek Hill. They're both going to look like clowns. But hey, I'm not the one making those statements. It's Tyreek Hill. He's doing it to themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see when Tua wins MVP this year. We're all going to be egg on our face, you know?
Yeah.
All
And
right.
I think I like what they're doing, like what the 49ers are doing in contrast to this is they're actually like the arm strength, like, oh, his arm fatigue. They're like, playing it up too. Like, oh, Trey Lance had 2 throws and then he got tired.
Yeah.
And like they're laughing about it. And I like that they can be playful about things like that. And also be like, hey, like we're still pretty confident about Trey Lance. Like it's this dichotomy where they're not taking things too seriously and they're not putting too much pressure on the guy.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to build this guy up at the top of the mountain and then before he's even taken the first step, they're gonna defend their guy, but they're not gonna put unrealistic expectations on him. I just think Tyreek is using these hyperboles and using these situations to boost his own notoriety with his podcast. And I would not like that as a front office, that you're using these words and these situations about our team just to get numbers on your podcast. And I think it could backfire on them. This could be a situation where they have to get rid of Tua after the season, or in a year or two, they realize like, hey, we don't want this Tyreek podcast on our team anymore. We want this gone.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to from these receivers to a veteran receiver. Julio Jones is in the news. He just signed today to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What are your thoughts on this?
Tampa Bay. So if they get any like semblance of like a dominant Julio, even if it's like 80%, 75%, I think it's a good pickup. They probably did not. I'm guessing, because we don't know the details of the contract yet. I'm guessing it's for pretty cheap, and he's going to be their 3rd or 4th string wide receiver, just to like kind of play in the mix. Like, I think that's perfect. I think it's low pressure. I think you get in a vet, and I think we've seen it too when they picked up Antonio Brown. Hey, like we just need a guy who's gonna score, who we can just, we know Mike Evans is gonna get, the one. We know Godwin is looking awesome in the slot. Like we're gonna be fine. Just Julio, go out there and run some routes. If you get open, cool.
Yeah, I mean, isn't Godwin still coming off the injury? Other than that, you just have, I believe they signed Russell Gage. Scotty Miller should still be there. They have Mike Evans, of course. They just brought in Kyle Rudolph. They have a lot of running backs. And then they got Tom Brady, obviously. So this is just insurance to me. They have weapons already. They didn't need to make this signing, but I think what we've seen from this team is they'll bring in a veteran just in case, that break glass in case of emergency. That's what Antonio Brown was. And then they're also taking that player away from a potential contender. So would you rather have Julio be your 4th receiver, or would you have him be the number 2 on a different team that's trying to beat you? So I think it works in both those ways.
That team's going to be fucking big.
Yeah. And
Godwin, Evans, and Julio. Like imagine that red zone package. That's insane.
It's crazy that they got him, because it's just, you can roll out these sets now and use them you can play situational football, very situational with this, which is perfect for Tom Brady. You start your drive, you have Godwin in there, you got Scotty Miller, you're trying to get quick slants, get down the field with Mike Evans, and then you get in red zone. You got Mike Evans on one side, you got Julio Jones on there, you got your tight ends. Who are you doubling? Julio might not have the same speed or breakaway elusiveness. Separation is the word I'm looking for. But oh man,
Yeah, that one
my
slipped.
that one's separated
That
from my
one was
mind.
elusive.
Elusive. I'm just throwing out Madden words at this point. Um, he doesn't have the same separation, but at the end of the day, he's a huge guy, and I'd rely on him to go up and get jump balls against these smaller cornerbacks. And if he's covered, then throw it up to Mike Evans, the other big guy. So this is a perfect signing for them.
Yeah, and I think this does again take away from a team that could have like, hey, you know what? We just need. What if something happens in training camp? Someone rolls an ankle. You know what I mean? You just need that depth. I think the 49ers could have used Julio in that same role where it's like, hey, just depth. We've got, but I mean, the receiving core is looking good, but you can't have enough. You know what I mean? You can never have enough.
Do you think this is like a? I'm not trying to bash Julio, but he obviously wasn't the same last year. Do you think this is just a name signing? Like, is Julio done? Does he still have some left in the tank? Like, I know we look at these guys that were superstars and we're like, oh yeah, obviously he should still be on a team. Obviously he's going to contribute. He should be a number 1, number 2 receiver. But we're not looking at the recent of what happened, what he's battling back from injuries. He didn't have a great year last year. Like, how shocked are we if he gets cut or he's a 5th receiver, like he never sees the field?
I'd be shocked if he never hits that field just because how big he is and how big that receiving core is. And that quarterback is perfect for him to throw an accurate jump ball. Tom Brady has that day in, day out. He could hit that corner of that end zone perfect. And who's going to jump higher than Julio Jones? I'm going to call it. I think Julio is going to have at least 4 touchdowns.
I was about to ask you, my over-under was 6, and I would put him at about 6 touchdowns.
You think he's going to have 6 touchdowns?
In an 18-game season?
Oh, yeah. I would say over.
Over. Now you're saying over. One game, he's getting 3 more touchdowns, you're saying?
Bro, well, because then think about it. If they're blowing teams out and they're like, hey, you know what? Fucking Godwin's always banged up. Evans is, has minor, nicks and bruises here and there. Julio, get out there.
Would you be shocked if they threw Julio like closer to the line, almost as a tight end? I would want to do that. I think he'd be switch him over
Pitts role.
I would switch him into a Kyle Pitts role, and I think he'd be dominant at that point now because just let him run some quick outs, let him run across the middle of the field, just get him the ball any way you can. See what his legs have left in the speed department, but.
I wouldn't even do anything. I would have him go just strictly in the red zone.
But okay, picture this.
Specialist.
How sweet would it be to line up and have Mike Evans wide and Julio at the tight end when you're on the 2-yard line?
Yeah.
How do you defend Julio? Is he going to break out to the outside? Is he going to break inside? Is he just going to turn and sit with that big body? I think that's a difficult cover. Who do you put on him?
Nightmare.
Who do you put on him at that
nightmare?
Point? Yeah. I think there's a lot of ways they can utilize him.
Biggest guy on Mike Evans already.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, well, teams aren't just rolling out 6'4" corners at every, you know what I mean? All 3 positions. It's going to be, I'm telling you, it's just with the receiving core and that quarterback. Yeah, he deserves to be on that field.
All right. Well, we're going to look at the betting line at some point and see what his touchdown line is. And we'll probably talk about that later.
Oh, if it's low,
we're going to smash that bet button.
Yeah.
All right. Wrap it up here. We're going to talk about the Seattle Seahawks, not quarterback news anymore. We're going to talk about the running back situation. Chris Carson announced his retirement today. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, it's sad to see he only had a 5-year career. And watching him week in, week out, because we are NFC West fans, obviously, this guy is like a badass. And once he got rolling, he was going. And he's a guy that I always thought man, if the 49ers had him, I wouldn't be mad. So yeah, just sucks with like things that happen like with your neck, because that affects like your entire body. So, hopefully he gets healthy. Best of luck in his retirement and whatever he's doing moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's tough. Like I looking back, I thought this guy had like a 9 or 10 year career. I really don't remember him only being there 5 years. I feel like he's been there for a long time. I mean, just from the amount of times we've seen him being Niners fans. But this is a guy that was solid. I think he did get a short end of the stick a little bit by going to Seattle, where ever since Marshawn Lynch, that team has been rotating running backs and they never really committed to a guy. They always had like 2 or 3 guys and they would pop here and there. Maybe one season they would be the leader, but the next season, the next guy would jump up. And it was always this like weird situation where they never wanted to commit to Carson or I'm sure you know the other running backs that better than me.
Rashad Penny.
Rashad Penny was another guy. And now they have like Homer and I don't see them.
He slimmed down.
Yeah. Homer, I don't see, they haven't really like fully committed to him either. And it's just like, I think this was a guy that could have went to another team and been their guy, like been the number one guy and had a great career. But it sucks seeing a neck injury and someone going down for that. But it's definitely very serious and can't really risk it when it comes to neck injuries.
Yeah. So I think like, again, kudos to you, Chris Carson. It was fun watching you. Wish you had nothing but the best moving forward, dude.
Yeah, I mean, sucks to see you go, but I'm glad the Niners ain't got a game plan for you anymore. All right, is that all we got for today?
Yep.
All right, it's cool talking with y'all. Go ahead and like, subscribe, comment, follow us on Spotify, Apple Pods, and YouTube. See ya.
You made it all the way through this video. We really appreciate it. If you like this content, go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and follow for more. And feel free to check out some of these videos and subscribe to it.